There's a story about a cabin deep in the northern woods, a place that doesn't appear on any map. Locals whisper that if you stay there, the forest doesn't let you leave. I didn't believe it until I experienced it myself. What happened that night changed everything I thought I knew about being alone in the wilderness. I arrived mid-autumn, the sun already gone behind the horizon. The gravel road had vanished under fog so thick it felt like walking through a cloud. When I finally reached the clearing, the cabin emerged like a ghost. Rotting wood, windows fogged and yellowed, corners warped by years of neglect. The smell, damp, moldy, and faintly metallic, like rust on wet iron. I shrugged off the eerie feeling. I told myself it was just isolation, nothing more. I stepped inside, my boots echoing on the wooden floor, and set down my bag. The fire I built cracked loudly in the hearth, but then I heard it. The footsteps circled the cabin, slow, deliberate. Now and then the floorboards outside creaked under the weight of someone or something. Then came the voice, low, almost beneath the fog. "You shouldn't be here." I laughed nervously, thinking it was the wind or maybe an animal, but the knocking continued, not random, rhythmic, methodical. Someone or something was outside. I gripped a kitchen knife and slowly approached the door, heart hammering. The fog swallowed the clearing. I couldn't see 10 feet ahead. No footprints, no signs. Just silence and the cold bite of air against my skin. By morning, I thought it was over. I stepped outside, hoping to see my car, hoping for some logical explanation. But the ground was empty. My car was gone, not stolen, vanished. The only evidence was footprints, bare human prints leading from the edge of the woods to the cabin, then stopping abruptly, mid-step, as if whoever or whatever was here had disappeared into thin air. I wandered through the fog, calling for help, hoping someone would appear. That's when I saw another cabin, identical, cleaner, newer. Inside, a calendar marked today, but the previous pages were blank. Only one word, scrawled in thick black ink: welcome. My stomach turned. The fog pressed in on me like a living thing. Every step I took, it seemed to shift and curve, leading me back to the same clearing. I tried to run, but the forest twisted in impossible ways. Roots caught my boots, branches clawed at my jacket and face. I called out, screamed, but no one answered. Only the fog responded, whispering through the trees. I spent hours, or maybe days, I couldn't tell, lost between the trees, my mind starting to fray. Food and water were gone, and the whispers, they grew louder. Stay. My own reflection in a puddle looked wrong, eyes too wide, skin pale, hair sticking out at odd angles. I was changing, or the forest wanted me to think I was. Finally, I found a path. Maybe. It led uphill towards what I thought was civilization, but the fog thickened and I realized I was back at the first cabin. Nothing had changed. I opened the door and the inside was empty. No fire, no supplies, only the calendar, today's date marked in black ink, and that word again, welcome. My scream animated me to leave, to run, to escape, but I couldn't. The forest didn't want me to. And then I heard the footsteps inside now, pacing just behind me. I turned. Nothing, just the fog curling at the edges of the room. The whispers followed me to the window. "You belong here." I eventually stumbled out, somehow, back into the daylight. But the cabin, I swear it's still out there, waiting. And if you ever hear of a lone traveler who vanished in northern fog, remember this. Sometimes the forest isn't just a place, it's a trap, and the cabin, it always finds you. Some forests are beautiful, some are peaceful, and some are alive in ways you can't explain. The first time I went into the pines alone, I thought it would be relaxing, a simple hike. I thought I was prepared, but by nightfall I realized I wasn't just walking among trees, I was walking among whispers. The trailhead was hidden behind an old logging road, almost swallowed by weeds. Moss covered the wooden sign, letters faded. It smelled like rain on dirt, rich and damp. The air was crisp, almost electric, and a strange, heavy silence surrounded me. Not a bird, not a squirrel, just the forest breathing. I remember the first thing that felt wrong. I was 20 minutes in when I realized I hadn't heard another sound. The silence wasn't peaceful. It was deliberate, like the forest itself was holding its breath, waiting for me. I thought it was the wind. I told myself that over and over, but then it came again, clearer, human. Turn back. By the second hour, I reached a clearing. The trees formed a perfect ring, gray trunks twisting like bones. The air smelled metallic, like iron. And then I saw it. Scratches. Deep, fresh, carved into the bark in a pattern that didn't make sense. My stomach turned. I moved forward, trying to convince myself it was just some hunter's mark. But then I noticed movement. A figure crouched low against a tree. At first I thought it was just the shape of a branch, but the eyes, they glowed faintly in the shadow. I froze. My heart slammed against my ribs, and then it moved, darting silently from tree to tree. No branches bent, no leaves rustled, nothing. It was like watching a shadow learn to hunt. I ran. My boots slipped on damp needles, and branches tore at my jacket and hair. The whispers followed me, growing louder. Turn back! My breath came in ragged gasps. I didn't stop until I burst onto an overgrown path leading back to my car, but even then, I could feel it, watching, waiting. I thought I was safe, but later when I told a friend about the scratches, she went pale. Someone had gone missing that night. A man, found deep in the forest, was covered in scratches. The pattern was identical to what I had seen on the trees. Even now, I can't explain what I saw. Was it human? Something else? The scratches, the whispers, the figure, none of it made sense. But there's one thing I know for certain. The forest remembers you, and if you're not careful, it won't let you leave. Some trails looked harmless on the map. Picturesque waterfalls, moss-covered paths, perfect for a weekend hike. Devil's Creek looked just like that. But the first time I hiked it alone, I realized too late that some places aren't meant to be explored, and some sounds are never meant to be heard. The trailhead was small, almost forgotten. Weeds and debris had overtaken the parking area. Old wooden signs warned of hazardous conditions, but I laughed them off. I parked, slung my backpack over my shoulders, and stepped into the forest. The air smelled like wet earth and fallen leaves, with a faint tang of something metallic like iron. I felt watched, but I told myself it was nerves. I followed the creek at first, the sound of rushing water guiding me. The sun filtered through the trees, glinting off the surface. Everything seemed normal, until I reached a fork in the trail. To the left, a cliff overlooking the creek. To the right, deeper into the forest. I chose the right path. That was the first mistake. The deeper I went, the darker it became. The canopy thickened, blocking the sun. Shadows stretched across the trail like long fingers. The forest smelled older here, damp and decaying. Every footstep felt louder than the last. And then I heard it. A scream. Short, sharp, bone-chilling. Not human. No human could make that sound. My blood ran cold. I ran toward the sound, thinking someone needed help. That's when I saw him, a man pinned against a tree, eyes wide with terror, shaking uncontrollably. His mouth moved, but no sound came out. His gaze fixed on something behind me. I turned slowly. There was a shape in the shadows, too long-limbed, moving in ways that weren't possible. Eyes hollow, face blurred as if the forest itself had molded it from darkness. It watched me. I couldn't look away. I wanted to run, but my legs refused. Then it moved, faster than anything should move through a thick forest. I bolted, crashing through roots over mud, branches tearing at my clothes and skin. My heart thundered in my chest. The forest itself seemed alive, rearranging to trap me. Every turn led me deeper, further from the trail. The whispers grew, echoing, "Don't leave." Hours, or maybe minutes, I couldn't tell, passed. I stumbled across small clearings, each one eerier than the last. The man I had seen? Gone. Only the shape remained, watching from just beyond the trees. Its eyes glowed faintly, hollow and hungry. Finally, I found the creek again, thinking I could follow it back to civilization. But the trail disappeared. The trees bent in unnatural angles, forming walls that weren't there before. Water bubbled strangely, like murmuring voices beneath the surface. Then I saw the footprints, human, barefoot, leading into the forest and stopping mid-step. The shape was waiting there, motionless, as if it had been guiding me all along. I tried to turn around. The forest had shifted. The path was gone. My mind screamed at me to flee, but I was trapped. And then I heard the whispering, clearly this time, "You shouldn't have followed him." I never saw the man again. I don't know what happened to him. I only know I survived, barely. But sometimes when I hear a creek rushing in the distance, I swear I hear footsteps behind me. Not mine, and not human.